Hello again, Unky Tonks. Excuse the dark lighting, and you may think I'm talking gibberish, but I'm doing this while enduring severe back pain. Really severe back pain. It's the worst I've ever had. I'm practically living on a TENS machine hooked up to my spine at the moment to try and dull the pain, but there we go. Anyway, something's been on my mind for quite a while now, and sitting at home doing nothing but thinking other than the Roman Empire, the fall of the Roman Empire, amongst other things. No, I'm only kidding. I do sometimes, though. Anyway, I've been thinking about some of the content creators' videos I've seen on YouTube and their argument that the country's in the midst of a civil war or it's just round the corner, etc. And thinking about it and giving you my opinion on it. I'm not a military expert despite being ex-army, though I am a student of military history. I do love military history. I've come to the conclusion, or it's my opinion, that civil war is coming, though it won't be in our lifetime. All right, it'll be either our kids or our grandkids who will unfortunately have to deal with them apples. And the reason I've come to that conclusion is, I'd say it's all down to the middle class here in Britain. Now, bear with me. In the 1640s, we had a British Civil War. It was a British Civil War because all the countries were involved. It wasn't just the English Civil War, though the battles were mainly in England. Now, the monarch at the time, King Charles, ironic, I know, he thought he had divine power. He was God's representative on earth. No one could touch him. He wanted to make decisions, and that's that. He was the top guy, number one, king of the hill. Call him what you like, but that's what he wanted. But Parliament disagreed, and for this, he dissolved Parliament a few times because they wouldn't give him money, and he hated them. So he took it upon himself to be a one-man government. And for a while, his policies were ruthless, and it affected the working class, the downtrodden, peasants, etc. But it wasn't until his policies started affecting the gentry, the middle class, the wealthy, that then things started to turn against him, because his policies affected the wealthy people's, middle class people's way of life, their wealth, education, religion, which was one of the main things. And they said, right, I'm not having this. It's affecting my life, my family's lives, and I'm going to raise a regiment and hook up with other middle class people, and we're going to take the war to the king and force him to back down. Of course, he didn't. He turned on them, betrayed them, and he got beheaded for it. But Cromwell was one of them. He raised a regiment of cavalry, the Ironsides, I do believe. So there we go. My argument is it'll be the middle class who will start an uprising against the government that will trigger the real conflict, the civil war. At the moment, the middle class, they're safe in their little hovels, their leafy middle-class gated communities. They're in a bubble. It's like they're on a different planet. Government policies don't really affect them. Mass immigration doesn't affect their schooling, education, wealth, property. Notice mass immigration coming to this country. The government puts them in council estates, nowhere near wealthy middle-class hovels or anywhere like that. Have you noticed that? But when they do start doing that, and it affects the middle class people's lives, then I think it'll be a trigger for an armed conflict. And it's still a way away, because remember, the middle class are in Parliament and in government. And the government at the moment is seriously overstepping the mark by taxing everyone to beggary and buggery, giving money away to foreign countries, trying to make us pay for quite literally everything. Literally everything is going to be taxed, and it's becoming harder and harder to live financially in the UK. Hence, a lot of wealthy people have moved away. They really have moved away. But you need certain elements to win a civil war, and you need ingredients. The ingredients are there, but they're not in the bowl. Hence, it hasn't started or won't start for a while yet. I don't think, like I said, it'll happen in our lifetime. but the country's infrastructure is on its knees. We have boatloads and boatloads of illegal migrants being welcomed, enticed into the country and paid for. People are working hard to pay their taxes. The taxes are being spent on things which don't really benefit them at all, nothing at all. And you've got Parliament, which is just having their noses in the trough. Anyway, the three key elements to winning the Civil War are the government, all right? They've got influence, they've got the money, they can get help from other nations to put down rebellions, all right? They can advertise and make themselves look more like the victims in other nations' eyes who will send forces over to help them. Then you've got the armed forces. The armed forces are woke as hell, all right? It will be on the side of the government should there be when the Civil War finally comes. That's because I left the mob in 2005, and even then I saw left-wing politics being drip-fed from the top down. When I say the top down, you've got students from colleges, universities, student activists, which are steeped in communist, socialist, Marxist, violent, extreme left-wing ideology and politics, joining Sandhurst, and then into their respective regiments and units, all Navy, Army, Air Force. And so for the past 20 years at least, that's been drip-fed. And now look at the state of the armed forces. You've got the Air Force, which won't recruit white men, and the Army, as it is, it's woke as hell. I'm in touch with people in the mob, and they tell me what it's like. It's got to the point where, as I mentioned a few videos ago, they're leaving in droves. They are leaving in droves. The enlisted men and women, they're more knowledgeable now. They have more knowledge in their hands, in their little phones, thanks to the internet, of what's going on. And they put two and two together, and they've figured out this isn't a government that they want to fight for. They don't want to go to the Ukraine to fight for Zelensky and Starmer and woke politics and whatever, globalism and the WEF. It's that simple, really. They've figured it out thanks to the internet and their mobile phones, and they're not having it, and good for them. That's what I say. Anyway, then you have the monarchy. The monarchy is woke. You've got Charles, and sadly, William is just as woke, and all that woke ideology will drip down to the kids, George, Louis, Charlotte, etc. So you've got potentially up to 200 years worth of monarchy there, which is going to be woke as hell if it survives, and that'll be on the side of the government, simply because it wants to keep its money, wealth, power, privilege, because at the end of the day, it's the government that keeps the monarchy where it is. It's the government that can take down the monarchy. Charles only has to interfere on the wrong side of politics, the political parties, and if it's the one in government, then they'll call for a referendum and the monarchy's gone. The monarchy is on thin ice as it is. So you've got the monarchy, the army, the armed forces and the government on one side, and the middle class and the working class, downtrodden, peasants, the poor, on the other. And there's only one victor, unfortunately, unless whoever is on the middle class, the working class side, managed to cultivate a stellar leader or leaders as other conflicts have. It was a conflict that brought us Napoleon. It was a conflict that brought us General Robert E. Lee, Jackson, Grant, Jeb Stuart. Who is that mad one? Sherman. That's another one. Did I mention Stonewall Jackson? Yeah. It's conflict that brings out the good commanders and leaders. And at the moment, the only one that sticks out leadership-wise is someone like Tommy Robinson, maybe Rupert Lowe, or somebody from a middle-class family who has had enough and has the influence and the education and the leadership qualities. It's very rare it's someone from the working class, the downtrodden, etc. I'm sorry, but it's the truth, isn't it? It's the truth. So there we go. Civil war is coming. Not in our lifetime, I don't think. That's because the ingredients aren't yet in the bowl. And we don't have the the winning element on our side, hence the army, government and the monarchy. They've got all of it. We've got nothing, unless we get lucky generals, as Napoleon would say. When he promoted an officer to a general, he'd always ask, are they lucky? That's what we need, a lot of luck. Anyway, I'm not trying to whip up an insurrection, protest, violence on the streets. I'm really not. I'm just giving you a prediction here. And it may sound stupid, but I've been sat there for a few days in a lot of pain, just thinking about stupid things, as men do. The fall of the Roman Empire, wars, and the upcoming civil war. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, and yes, it's just my prediction. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I hope I am. But something's going to give. Something really is going to give. This government is not for the people. It's not a good example of a democratic system. And I'd say now, an indirect democracy just doesn't work. We need something else. Because we've got people in Parliament who just represent themselves. That's another element, Parliament. They're just in it for themselves, folks. There's a big, massive money benefit trough there, and they've all got their noses in it, or most of them. Anyway, ain't that the truth? You know it. Anyway, there we go. Let me know if you think I'm wrong, if I'm talking shite as usual, or you got a counter-argument, or if you think I'm right, just let me know in the comments. Embrace your freedom of speech while you have it, folks. Embrace it, because it'll be gone soon. I promise you. That's what they're after. They're after your thinking. They're after your thoughts, opinions, your unique selves. As long as you have that, then you can oppose them. If they take that away from you, you can't oppose them. Like I said, I'm not trying to trigger a war, insurrection, violence on the street, protests, riots. I'm really not. It's just an opinion. It's a prediction of from what I've seen, what I experienced, and what people are saying online. So yeah, anyway, again, let me know in the comments. So there we go. I'm Paz49. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you at the next one. Roger Trout.